Alcoholic. For most of us, this is a term that is an acknowledgement of the reality of our drinking situation. And until we get real and raw with ourselves, we won't be able to take those first steps toward recovery. This word means we finally surrender to the truth, and change then becomes possible. I remember the day clearly when I looked in the mirror and admitted to myself I was an alcoholic. And yes, there was an F-bomb thrown in there too. That moment was defining and the first step towards real change. And even though it took 2 more years for sobriety to stick, it was this moment of truth spoken out loud to myself that spurred me toward recovery. But are we always alcoholics? Is that a label that we will carry with us for the rest of our lives? Hello everyone, my name is Jess and this is episode 13 of our Quitting Drinking series. And if you're getting any value from these videos, please give me a like and consider subscribing. The entire playlist will be linked below, and of course I welcome your feedback. So today we're going to discuss the identity around the alcoholic label. Getting sober from disordered drinking is an incredibly transformative experience, and we're going to have many profound moments of realizations as we reclaim our lives from this horrible addiction. But sometimes we might find that we have been labeled. Maybe someone else has referred to us as an alcoholic because, well, that's how they remember us from the past. Perhaps we even call ourselves an alcoholic. Now, in some recovery programs, everyone introduces themselves as an alcoholic, even if you have decades of sobriety. The term alcoholic obviously has some use, as I stated before, because it's a real and raw acknowledgement of our addiction. But if we identify as an alcoholic, does it make it harder to put that aspect of our past in the past? Does it place any sort of burden on us because of the societal stigma of the term? It might give others the sense that we are struggling daily, white-knuckling it just to stay sober, and it might have this connotation of shame about our past. If I still call myself an alcoholic and identify as one, does it hinder me from coming into a new self-realization after I've been sober for years? Am I able to turn the corner towards a new self-definition? Keep in mind, I am not bashing any recovery program that uses these terms, or even if you call yourself that after sobriety. I'm for absolutely any program that helps you stay sober. What works for you is subjective, and I say do what works for you. Let's also talk about the word recovery. For some people, the work of recovery is lifelong. There's no point where recovery ends, and it is the means of getting and staying sober. So if that is what is needed, then you need to do that, whatever keeps you on the sober path. But I would suggest that as alcohol gets put in the rearview mirror, you look at recovery as something more along the lines of personal growth that all of us human beings should seek. Every human, whether they drink or drug or not, goes on a journey of personal development throughout their lives. And those of us who are achieving sobriety, well, we share a very unique insight that we can only gain from overcoming addiction. The work of recovery and personal growth is the same, but recovery specifically implies that we're overcoming things that led to our drinking and we're making positive changes. We're working on our mindset because now, well, we insist on doing better and feeling better. So the words alcoholic and recovery are words with implications. They are powerful acknowledgments that get us on the right track to a new life. But I would just be careful that as you put alcohol in the past, these descriptors don't hinder anything for you. Some people believe that perpetual recovery is just the way it is, and if it is for you, that is fine. Do what you have to do to stay on the path. I don't call myself an alcoholic anymore. I don't think of myself as an alcoholic. If I start drinking again, it won't be long before I am an alcoholic again because I loved the way alcohol made me feel. It's just how I'm wired for some reason. I've heard about some people who have, gone back to managing drinking after becoming sober. Most of the time, this doesn't work, and I know that for a fact because I've tried it too many times to count. I have zero desire to tempt fate and get buzzed or drunk. And the point of alcohol, well, it's to alter your state, no matter if it's 1 beer or 1 glass of wine. Now I cherish a sober and alert mind. period. That is the most important thing to me and my mental health. I also consider myself recovered. I do a lot of personal work still, on all my inner stuff that probably led to my drinking in the first place, insecurities, things like that. And in a sense, yeah, that is recovery work. You could also call it personal development because that is also what it is. So there comes a point in our sobriety that moving beyond these descriptors is possible. And if anything, I will refer to myself as sober. People who have always been sober usually don't call themselves that. It's really only us that have recovered from alcohol addiction, right? This term embraces what a new life is, a life of personal growth, a life of new self-awareness, a life of gratitude and appreciation of life and all the lessons that we've learned and are continuing to learn. Have you noticed how powerful languaging is and how we frame our experience of life and ourselves? These labels have an impact. I've been working on loosening my hold on all the labels that I've had over my lifetime. Many of these labels, are simply just descriptors of things that I did in the past, my experiences, my roles, my accomplishments, failures, my affiliations, my ideologies, that's all. When we hold too tightly to certain identity labels, we can become really confined to a particular attitude and belief that aligns with it. And sometimes we have the tendency to become kind of closed-minded and narrow in our view of the world and ourselves. And we might not ever really feel free because when we do this, we mistakenly put ourselves in a box and say, well, this is who I am. And sometimes that feels safe. When we become more self-aware, we can see this and evaluate the impact our use of languaging and self-identity labels have on our own personal growth. Have they limited us or have they been empowering us? Labeling ourselves can sometimes put us in this fixed mindset over a growth mindset where, we could possibly miss out on all sorts of potentials. On our journey towards being recovered from alcohol, I think it can be really helpful to move toward the goal of a new definition of ourselves, one that is rooted in reality now, one that acknowledges that you were once addicted and now you are free, a new person developing a new mind, doing the work to continue on this journey as this new person who has put alcohol in the past and takes the steps necessary to make sure alcohol stays in the past, whatever that means for you. Now, before we wrap up, I want to mention this. Now, I keep a mental image of my very worst days as an alcoholic, and I can assure you they are ugly images. And I remember clearly the awful feelings that are tied to them. And while I don't identify as that person anymore, those images have value. And I also don't fixate on these memories, or else a sense of shame could emerge, which is absolutely not helpful. But as time goes by, those mental images are, for me, what stir up gratitude for life, for the life that I have now. And in early sobriety, these images kept me on a path to this new life while serving as a reminder that I never want to go back there. In closing, life is meant to be a process of continued growth until the very, very end. And I don't think there's ever going to be a time where we will finally arrive to that level of perfection where we've got it all figured out. So I encourage you to be patient and steadfast in your journey. Don't give up. And if you fall, pick yourself back up. Keep going and embrace language that's going to make you feel empowered. When we become sober, our new identity will honor our past in a way that brings a sense of gratitude and wisdom and competency and courage. And it's a powerful shift when we can actually get to that point where we're grateful for those past painful experiences because, well, we wouldn't be here today without them. The past absolutely cannot be changed. All we can do is learn and grow and receive the grace that recovery brings. Once again, consider liking this video if you did indeed like it. Share with somebody it might encourage. Also subscribe and feel free to comment if you want to support the work of this channel. Thank you for being here today, and I will see you next time.